It should be a collective development of co-development of this technology, where everyone is playing their role, and then this technology will be serving humanity for the benefit of humanity, bridging our gap, and they will coexist with us again in complete harmony, like electricity is coexisting with us.
Dr. Amit Kumar Pandey has served as the head principal scientist at Softbank Robotics. He is the creator of the world's first mass-produced humanoid robot, Pepper. He's worked as a researcher in robotics and AI at the French National Center for Scientific Research. He has served as the general chair of the ROMAN 2019 conference. He is the founding coordinator of Socially Intelligent Robots and Societal Applications of euRobotics, the European Union Robotics Meeting. He is also the recipient of Innovation Leadership Awards, Global Excellence Award for Contribution in Robotics and AI, Achievers Award for Science and Technology, AI, Robotics and Education, and Pravashi Bihari Samman Puraskar 2014 on Non-Residential Bihari Honor Award for Science, Technology and Education, one of the highest level civilian honors awarded by the state of Bihar, India. And he is currently Chief Technology Officer and Chief Science Officer at Hanson Robotics, the creator of the world's most advanced human-like expressive humanoid robot, which is Sophia. So, Amit, thank you once again for being part of Change and Possible podcast. So, Sophia is making all the right moves, right? So, it's also got citizenship in Kuwait. So, let's start with the journey. I mean, you were with Softbank Robotics, and from there you now Hanson Robotics. So how difficult has the journey been for an Indian scientist researcher? Because if you see globally, there are not many people or who are from India in the robotics space.
Thanks a lot for this introduction, which is, I think, already very long, and thanks for the invitation. So about the journey, basically after my master's and bachelor's from India, I moved to France for my PhD in robotics and AI, and again it was a quest to explore the domain of robotics in because robotics is something which is very wide, and there are different kind of robots, different kind of applications and capabilities. So the serious journey in humanoid robots started once I started my PhD in France in CNRS LAS, where I started to work on some of the most advanced humanoid robots at that time, including HRP2 robot, PR2 robots. So humanoid robots are basically robots which are somewhat looking like a human in their appearance, in their shape, in their size, and then we try to make them even intelligent to be more socially engaging with us. So it was interesting. I think the beginning of the journey outside India was equally interesting as my journey and my education in India have been. And the thesis, which was making these robots intelligent, actually socially intelligent, was recognized as one of the best PhD theses in Europe. Among three best PhD theses. So that was the turning point for me, that there is a recognition of the work in this domain at good level. And then I started to think about how we can have more applied aspect of all the research, how we can bring such technologies and the advancement in scientific domain to the people. And that is where I moved to Softbank Robotics, which was Aldebaran Softbank Robotics at that time, and there was very interesting opportunity to work on, again, one of the most advanced or one of the most mass-produced robot, which was called a Nao robot, and then when I was there, the company was also developing Pepper robot, which was the world's first mass-produced socializable humanoid robot. And so this was already very interesting to work on such robots which were really going to the people, which were deployed in different domains with different capabilities, even different parts of the world. We used to get many interesting feedback, and then the understanding what we should be doing next. And at the same time, I was also coordinating the European projects of the company, and as the principal investigator of these projects from the industry side. So it was challenging, but in the sense that we get to learn a lot. We were learning, and especially me also, it was a good opportunity to see the impact of these technologies. And then, as you mentioned, after a sufficient period of time, I moved to Hanson Robotics to explore what next, and to move to work on robots which are more looking like human in terms of their expressivity, in terms of their shape, size, and design. So that is how the relation with Hanson and with Sophia Robotics started. And at the moment, again, as you mentioned, I am deriving the science and technology direction of the company, and we are having many interesting things which will be coming soon.
Yeah, so I think the right now I think it's the most exciting time because uh, through history, I mean, every the technology was in a linear growth, but suddenly it's taken an exponential curve because of the computing capabilities. Would you like to talk a little bit about your PhD thesis, the socially intelligent PhD thesis?
Yeah, that was also very interesting because I was coming from India, and obviously there are cultural differences, and that also constitute to some of the societal aspects of the way we used to interact with people, the way we used to behave in a community, in a society. So I was already seeing that there is a need to move beyond. The traditional kind of intelligence in the robot, like they are navigating, they are manipulating the things, they are interacting with the people. How to consider some of the building blocks of development from different child development, like how a child is growing, how it is adjusting in a society, in a family. So there are many different constructs from which we can get inspired from social psychology to child developmental psychology. So that was one part of my work, that I try to understand cross discipline, not only the science and technology of robotics, but also the psychology side of human behavior, and find the basic building blocks of those constructs, and then try to create a kind of computational model. As you mentioned, the technology is expanding fast. The computation power is becoming faster and faster with time. So how we can find right balance from the technology as well as from the psychology side to make these robots grow, make these robots get the basic building blocks of social behavior, and then develop further high level behavior on the top of those. And one of the challenges was that these robots are supposed to work in human environment. So they are not isolated like industry or in Mars or underwater or in whatever lab you can say that in the lab setup. They should be coming out of the lab and work in the human environment, and they have to work in healthcare, in education, in different domains. So how these robots will be adjusting, adopting, learning, and behaving in the way which is expected and accepted by us, by the people. And that is the, I think, one of the work which I was pushing, that integration of robots, better integration of robots for our society, for us in close harmony. So coexistence of human and robot in close harmony, I think, is a better way to define the motivation of this thesis.
I think we're living in very interesting point. I mean, the coexistence of a man with a machine, I think, is going to be an exciting journey. the robots, I think, is going to play a huge role because they are humanoids. They are the closest to us, and maybe in a few decades, maybe those lines could get more blurred. Let's get into Sophia, which is obviously getting the most attention globally. Ben Goetzel is a rock star scientist, and he's been leading this with Sophia. And suddenly, I mean, now we have you in the space. So can you talk a little bit about Hanson Robotics and Sophia Robotics?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, and as you also rightly pointed, that there is a huge opportunity when these machines will be coexisting with us, and those opportunities are really we are starting to explore, like in healthcare, since they are human-like robot, they will be closer to us in the way social signaling is achieved by a machine and the human during the communication. Similarly, for education and retail or whatever sector you can think about in industry, the industry 4.0, which is a part of that, is about co-robotics, where robots are co-worker with the human. So that is the revolution which we are now witnessing, and that these machines are really coming out of the industry setup and lab setup and working with us. And then coming back to Hanson Robotics. So as you can see, Sophia robot, so she has most human-like expressivity, and these are the some of the key constructs for robots to be better engaging with the human and better expressing the multimodality of expressivity. So it is not that robot will be only speaking, but it will have a body language. It will have a facial expression. So those are the exciting things from Hanson Robotics and from the Sophia robot. And now it is the time to utilize those advanced capabilities in these robots to create more and more societal applications. And that is the time where we are, and this is the time when we are exploring all these possibilities, and we have already started to investigate in projects including tele healthcare, telemedicine, and potential, as I mentioned, is huge. So it can be also used for telepresence, teleeducation, and many other things. But it is just the beginning for us and as a community as well to explore the huge potential, especially in the COVID scenario and post-COVID world. I think these robots will have very big roles to play.
Lovely, lovely. So maybe we'll just talk about the applications a little bit. But you know what, globally, if you say some of the top AI researchers have criticized Sophia and claimed that it's been marketed and promoted super well, but it is far from being an AI marvel. What are your views on that?
Yes, I think there is a need to see these kind of robots from a balanced perspective. It should not only be seen as a representation of AI, but it is far more than that, and it is a combination of a nice example of how to combine art, science, technology all together to come up with these kind of robots. And then the intelligence of these robots will be one of the aspects to explore. So from my perspective, I think there is a need from both sides to have a better common understanding about what is exactly being developed and what are the key messages from both sides and how this kind of robots should be perceived. And from the AI side, it is always a evolving field, and we are also improving the capabilities and in the intelligence of our robots.
Right. So what would you like to talk a little bit about your competitors? Because you have these Boston Dynamics robots, which is getting a lot of attention. If you see their YouTube videos, they're actually phenomenal. You know what the robots can do and stuff like that. Then besides Boston Dynamics robotics, there is Sanctuary AI, which is fronted by I think Susan Gilded from D-Wave. X D-Wave, and she's working on AI robots with human level intelligence. So, how well do you think is Hanson Robotics placed in this overall ecosystem?
Yeah, so I think from my perspective, perhaps I will not comment a lot on what else is happening, but what I would like to comment is that we are one of the key players in this ecosystem, and we are very much aware that what is happening elsewhere, and we know what are our key competency, trade secrets, and how we are positioned differently in this domain. And as I mentioned again, that bringing art, science, technology, and then the social aspects of interaction with the expressivity of human-like capability in terms of expressivity, I think are some of the key ingredients which makes us feel comfortable in this competitive domain and in this sector.
Most of these humanoid robots at this point in time have some kind of human remotely controlling it. When do you think we will have robots which will not need a human behind controlling these robots?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting thing, because I think we are also very much inspired by science fiction movies where robots are too autonomous and they are able to do everything, and what they can or they should is another question. But in reality, I think we still have to go further to make these robots completely autonomous in many sense. In the sense they should be taking decision, they should be perceiving the environment, they should be making right sense out of what they are seeing or what they are hearing. So there are still scientific challenges for the real world to be solved before these robots are completely autonomous. And then there will be questions about where is the boundary of those kind of autonomy, and all the social, legal, ethical issues will be more and more prominent as they are becoming prominent for autonomous car, as you might have seen debates and also the regulations around this technology. So perhaps we will be moving in similar situation in coming years, where we have to start thinking about the level of autonomy of these robots, and then other issues centered around this autonomy.
Right. So I think we're living in an exciting space, and obviously, I mean, the autonomous robots. I mean, when it does happen, it stands to transform mankind. Yes, obviously, there, like you rightfully pointed out, there'll be a lot of moral and ethical implications which will arise from a complete autonomous robot. So talking about you earlier in the conversation, you mentioned about COVID. So because of COVID, suddenly, if you see, all the frontier technologies has been actually pushed almost 10 years in advance. There are all these big enterprises who are actually talking about digital transformation. Suddenly jump dived and figured the importance of digital transformation. Now, in this scenario where the world is completely changed and transformed because of COVID, and people have realized the importance of digitization, how do you think AI, robotics, or what role do you think AI and robotics going to play in reversing the impact of COVID?
Yes, that's you are very much right that COVID has also told us the importance of some of the technologies, and even accelerated the growth as well as the application of these technologies, including robotics and AI. And so one of the things which we are trying to compromise these days is social distancing. And so how to ensure that in the era of social distancing, our social life is not getting compromised, and then there, these kind of robots can really play a role. They can play the role of bridging people while ensuring the physical distance between two people or person. Basically, that if someone is in isolation ward and there is a doctor who is far, the robot can be a kind of medium, teleoperated medium for the communication between the patient and the doctor. And it is not only to communicate but also to monitor, as well as to examine, to for arranging from food delivery to medicine supply. You can think about all these possibilities, and there we don't need the complete autonomy, which you were also pointing, but we can have a kind of semi-autonomy, but again incorporating AI in this, so that whatever data the robot will be getting, and the AI will be able to analyze it and take even action or suggest action or warn the doctor or the nurse to for a particular situation. And again, these kind of robots can help connect people with their family and friends, especially in this COVID scenario, and give a kind of remote presence instead of simply having a video presence or presence by voice. There can be more embodied presence, which can be felt with such a technology. And another important thing is that these kind of robots can facilitate telework. Someone sitting at home can do the work, which will need the physical presence of an agent there. So because of this, I think restriction on travel or work, the robot can be the body of a person who is sitting somewhere else. So a kind of avatar-like scenario can be achieved, and that is already happening in many parts of the world. Right. To facilitate this, like not to compromise the work of a person, but even to help and support to do the work for someone who is not physically able, like for a differently abled person. These robots can even facilitate to get new kinds of job. So that's why it's a spectrum of physical embodiment of robot. And then once you will see the cognitive side or the social side of this, you can transport your emotions, your feelings through these kind of robots, and that will be helping you to be socially engaging in this era of isolation. So that's why bringing all these different technology, which you also mentioned, IoT, AI, robotics, will provide a solution which has not been even imagined in the past, but now it is the need. So tele-healthcare, tele-education, all will be facilitated. So a teacher can use these kind of robots to tele-educate and conduct classes in far and remote locations. So future is exciting.
Right, the future is super exciting. There's a quote from Arthur C. Clarke which says, any sufficiently advanced technology will be indistinguishable from magic. And I think we're going in that space where what technology can do is largely getting unfathomable. Some of the brightest minds are not able to completely understand how the transformation, how crazy these transformations can be. So yes, I think we're living in exciting times. But if you see, like technology, like any other thing, it's like a double-edged sword. It's got its plus point and it's got minus points also. We're entering the fourth industrial revolution, where it's been predicted that these Fortune 500, almost 40 or 50% of these Fortune 500 companies are going to go bankrupt, right? And automation is creeping up. People are losing jobs. So yes, it's not completely bad. I mean, the plus point is that besides the job loss, it's going to create millions of other jobs. The new job opportunities. But COVID, which has already created so much job loss, And plus the industry 4.0 revolution, which is going to go create further loss, because social distancing is going to again push these enterprise people to create more automation, which will obviously create more job loss. But as a society, are we prepared for this coming future?
Yeah, that's very interesting question because it needs answer from different stakeholders. So definitely there is a need to understand that what are the real needs for us as a society. What are the societal challenges which we are facing, and then try to see that the existing technologies, what they are, and how they will be able to handle some of those societal challenges. And this will need proper policy making, prioritization, as well as the change in the mindset of the people about the perception of a technology. So for just to give you an example, like when a smartphone came into existence, no one imagined all these set of applications which we are now getting through smartphones. And at the same time, no one, the mass or the people did not have the perception about what is a smartness in a smartphone. So there is a kind of challenge as well once we are talking about smart robots or intelligent robots, that the people already have a kind of perception that okay, these robots might be doing this, that is their smartness level. They one day they can kill, one day they can overcome the humanity, and all these are coming from different sources of information. And that's one of the challenges also, that we have to set the right kind of expectation about the technology in the mind of people, that where we are and what this technology can do to show the positive side, which is the real and the grounded side of these technologies. And then I think we will be more ready to accept this type of technology in our lives.
Right. You pointed out the over expectation hype sometimes kills the ecosystem. So at this point in time, the robots are actually widely being used. It's being used in industries. There are some quite a few consumer robots also, but they are expensive and still lack utility, because they can just do basic thing. So how productive are Hanson Robotics at this point in time? What are the use cases? What can it do right now today?
The robots, as you rightly pointed, are still evolving. Right. And these robots, including Hanson Robotics, many other companies, we are trying to pump in these robots in the community and trying to understand better the needs and the challenges. So, and that's why there will be new and new applications which will be coming out of real deployment of these robots in society. And at the moment, the phase for us as a community is that one, that we try to find some avenues that where we think, okay, these robots are useful, like in education, in healthcare, and in some business scenario, and then try to get feedback, try to improve the robot, the applications, their capabilities, and it will be a co-creation of a bigger ecosystem, and we are playing a role in that. So that's what I can say at the moment.
How important is the India market for you, and is Hanson Robotics commercially available in India?
So India, personally, I see that India has a huge potential of acceptance of robotic solutions in different parts of the life, because every continent, every country, and every culture and society, there are different needs. Like in Europe or in Japan, robots are needed for elderly care. There is a term which is called silver tsunami. So how to take care of elderly population. So that is the focus, one of the focus of robotics technology in these parts of the world. And in India, we are exploring. Personally, I, being Indian, I am exploring that what are the real potential applications of these robots, instead of simply implementing or trying to impose some solutions which is coming from outside and coming from the studies from outside, we should just understand and realize the real ground and potential. So that's the phase we are at the moment from India context.
Right. So if somebody wants to build a humanoid robot, where does he or she start from? And what are the must-have expertise? Can you delve into, like, talk about the architecture or the frameworks behind building a humanoid?
So globally, humanoid robot is a combination of many kinds of robots. So it is either having legs or mobile base. So you might have heard or seen at least warehouse robots where these robots are able to move around and carry things. So that will be serving the base of these robots in one sense. And then you have to have hands. And then if we will go the industrial automation side, there are already different kind of robotic arms, which have been developed and they are working. And then you need a kind of upper body and the head. So all these are again, we need to get inspiration from different cross-disciplinary aspects that what should the look and shape and size of the robot should be. And that also depends on the application because there can be different kinds of humanoid robot. But what is the application of that humanoid robot that will help in shaping that which components we will be needing in these robots and which kind of capabilities will be needed in this robot. And so just to give you an example that do we need hand with 5 fingers or simply a gripper like motion will be sufficient for the application potential. Similarly, do we need a robot with human-like expressivity or face, or simply a kind of human-like a skeleton face will be sufficient? So again, because all these are needing different expertise and different cost factors are also there. So it's a design choice which people should be considering depending on a real application. That's my suggestion, basically, that first try to understand the application of what you want to build, and then you can find the right component and design for that.
Just digressing a little bit, but there's this the last couple of months there. Open AI's GPT-3 is getting all the attention, right? Because its ability to create text to code, create poetry, and engaging intelligent conversation. So would you like to talk a little bit about GPT-3 and its possibilities?
GPT-3 is also, from my perspective, is one of the advancement about making AI more intelligent and more natural, looking like the conversation, which is a more natural conversation. And this is what we want to achieve in our robots as well, that how they should be able to better make sense and have the interaction which is making sense to the human partner also in a more natural manner. So that's why it is all these kind of advancement in the conversational AI is very exciting and very interesting, and it is growing exponentially. Like we are witnessing on a monthly basis some new things coming out, or some new added value or advancement in this domain. So I think community as a together as a community, the advancement is far more accelerated than it was in the past, and it is very exciting.
Do you see robots being completely having human-like intelligent capabilities? If yes, what are the timelines? Because, like, I mean, if you see, the ex-CTO of Hanson Robotics, Ben Goertzel's been working on artificial general intelligence. Then there's DeepMind, there's OpenAI, there is Sanctuary AI, and there's so many others who are working on artificial general intelligence. So would you like to first of all explain to my audience what artificial general intelligence is, and would you like to talk about the possibilities, and do you think artificial general intelligence is possible?
So again, it is a tricky question. In general, for AGI or artificial general intelligence, you can say that when the AI is achieving the human-like intelligence, so that is one way of seeing. the development of AI or the definition of AI. But again, the question is that how we define as a framework the artificial general intelligence. So that is still something which is, from my perspective, we as a community have to work. That how to define or even redefine AGI and the framework, and then we will be better able to tell the timeline. Because at the moment, as you rightly mentioned, there are various efforts which are happening worldwide, and their approaches are somewhat overlapping, or somewhat they are using different kind of approaches. So the question, it seems, is still that what is the right approach? Should it be completely data driven, or should it be completely based on some rules written by programmer or community or people, or there is a need of hybrid approach? So those are the things we are exploring, I think, at the moment as a community. So we are on the track of achieving higher level of intelligence. That's what I can say. And when it will reach to the artificial general intelligence, let the time tell that. That will be the better and safer side.
Lovely, lovely, super. Yeah, I guess, I mean, we are all in the quest of figuring out or creating these technologies which can, which will not only just transform mankind, but like I said earlier, help us in the journey of human evolution. I guess we'll be able to better understand the world and create a better world, because at this point in time, if you see, there is global inequality. There's so many problems, and I feel that from the current scarcity problem, we will go into the future of abundance if we leverage these tools or these technologies in a way where we have this thing of creating better a world. So tell me, I mean, today there are obviously, there's a whole lot of interest in machine learning, robotics, artificial intelligence, and things like that. So if a listener wants to get into understanding what machine learning is, or wants to build a robot, where does he or she start from?
If someone wants to jump and play a role in this revolution, uh, again, the question is, the first requirement is to have the grounded knowledge and understanding about such a technology. And so it is good to get inspired from science fiction movies, but the positive side of that is very important. And then to see that where we are in a reality, understand the technologies which are a state of art, like what is happening worldwide, what these kind of robots are getting used for, and get a kind of courses or certification in this domain will at least give that grounded knowledge, and that where we are in terms of technology. And then, of course, the avenue is open, that in which domain they want to go. Like if they want to go in the AI side of robotics, making robots more intelligent, or they want to go on the mechanical side of robots, designing more useful robots, or they want to go on the applied side of robots, where they want to deploy robots and see what are the usefulness of those robots, and then kind of giving a feedback to the creator of technology creation, helping in the technology creation loop. So it's a wide opening thing, like there are huge potential and possibilities. And again, everyone can contribute in this. So it is not only for robotics engineers or technician or AI background. People having different backgrounds can really contribute. Like we need people from psychology, we need people from animation industry, we need people from social science, ethical, legal experts, and you just name it, and then there is a role for everyone to play, even every person in the society. The feedback, the precious feedback, like I personally used to get from people who does not have to do anything technically with robotics, but the precious feedback that, okay, I need a robot for this. And that's enough for us to see the real application, and then it will be the engineers who will try to develop the robots for that application.
Right. So you pointed out that everybody can contribute. I mean, how do we take this message to everyone? Because I think the world needs to know that technology is growing exponentially, and if you play a part, it will create a better future for you. So somehow I feel that there has to be, like, you need to raise awareness about the potential of this technology, and that you don't really need to be a expert in science or technology. Whatever you're doing, obviously you need to buckle up a little bit, and you will be able to play a role. So you have been creating an ecosystem. I've been also doing that with Change Transform India, and the podcast is largely built to create awareness and raise awareness about these technology and what can it do for the larger good of the society. So you played a big role in bringing the 28th edition of the IEEE International Conference of Robotics here in India. What, according to you, should be done to build a better sustainable ecosystem?
Yes, so I think you rightly pointed there was a motivation to bring this conference to India, and that was to bridge different communities and to have the exchange of knowledge and exchange of research that whatever is the advancement we are doing in India in this field, what are the potential applications we are thinking in India, and what is happening elsewhere in the world. So it was very interesting to see these communities coming together and interacting for 4 days in that conference, exploring all these exciting advancement in science and technology, their application, and at the same time raising the awareness that what we are doing and where we are actually in global scenario and in Indian context. So as you mentioned, awareness, raising awareness is the key. And there we have to incorporate all the stakeholder, including media and including experts like you. And that's why I think our discussion is one of the contribution, hopefully, in that awareness raising initiative, which we should be doing as a community. And for this we also need to involve end user who are not the developer of the technology, but who are the user of the technology. Either it can be another business unit or different kind of business, or it can be consumer itself, but involvement of those people are very much important. Otherwise sometime we might risk to do the things based on intuition, and then we discover that okay, this is not what was really needed. So this bigger ecosystem where everybody and every key stakeholder is able to play a role is very important, and that's what we have to be doing. And it also includes policymaker, that giving the right message about this kind of technology is very important to derive the right policy making. And in Europe, you might be knowing, I am involved in euRobotics, where we try to get community feedback through a mechanism called topic groups, and then we try to compile those feedback, create a kind of multi-annual roadmap, and then also interact with the policymaker like European Commission to give feedback in this community-driven approach, and to have a mutual exchange of information about funding and policy making. So it's a bigger ecosystem which we have to also develop in the rest part of the world.
Right. So I think we are living in super exciting times. I have a 5-year-old son, and he plays. He's got this small robot claw. He plays with it all the time, and I keep on telling him that maybe in another 10 years that will be your teacher, that will be your friend, and so on and so forth. We living in exciting times. The possibilities are endless. You also pointed out towards how robotics is being used in elderly care. Industries are obviously already using at this point of time. I think we're living in fantastic times, and I personally am super excited and looking forward to having a consumer possibly robot enter my house and and helping me evolve. Uh, what excites you the most for being in this field, and what is your future vision roadmap ahead?
So for the excitement, I think people like you are very exciting because you see the positive impact and usefulness of such robots and technology, and those will be the early adopters of such a technology, which will create the bigger awareness about the impact, the positive impact of this technology. So that is already exciting that. I am talking to you and seeing your perspective on in all this, and that's why for me the vision is always the same, that these kind of machines should be combining the power of science, technology, art, creativity, AI, humanity, and society. So it should be a collective development of co-development of this technology, where everyone is playing their role, and then this technology will be serving humanity for the benefit of humanity, bridging our gap, and they will coexist with us again in complete harmony, like we are, like electricity is coexisting with us, like we are using cars. So this technology should be also part of our life, but for us, and that is the vision where I am pushing personally, and we are pushing as a community, as a company, to achieve better success and bigger impact.
Thank you, Amit, for being part of Change and Possible podcast. Yes, I think we're living in super exciting times. Who knows what's going to happen in another 10, 15 years, but the future looks super exciting. All the fields, maybe we'll have an intelligent robot amongst us in another 10 years, 20 years time. There is Elon Musk who's working on brain-computer interface, where he's trying to create a symbiosis between man-machine. Then there is virtual reality, where the lines of what is physical and what is virtual is getting blurred. Then there is synthetic biology, where people are tinkering with the source code of life and creating biological or hybrid things. I mean, this might, what was science fiction is getting into the realm of physical science reality. So I think we're living the most exciting times. This COVID, what it has done is that it's pushed all of these frontier technologies 10 years into the futures. Now it rests in the hands of engineers such as yourself and people around the world to build a better technology, because you said serving humanity. I think that should be the core of everything. And that if we do that, I think we'll have a better world, better products, better society. So in that note, really thank you for being part of Change and Possible podcast. And to my listeners, if you like and hear what you see, please press the subscribe button. Until next time, see you guys. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your interesting discussion.